So many of you might have seen the news recently that The Matrix might be receiving a revival in the upcoming years. It is questionable as to whether Keanu Reeves or the Wachowski sisters will return to the franchise, and it's raising a lot of questions because we don't really know if there's anywhere the story can really go at this point. If you don't recall, the end of the trilogy resulted in Neo effectively destroying the Matrix by hooking himself in and going to fight Smith, leading to the Matrix basically wiping its false world. So the question I wanted to raise is, how can we actually reboot the Matrix? So my first main point is to have the Matrix follow the example of Star Wars Rogue One. Rogue One showed us a very intelligent way to reimagine a franchise. Now, I get that they're still making episodes of Star Wars, but arguably Rogue One was more interesting and more intriguing. So essentially, the concepts we can learn from Rogue One is that we should focus on less powerful characters. So that means kind of getting away from the Neo system, having someone act as the one, act as a messiah figure, and more focusing on people who are involved in the struggle. So for example, if you ever played the video game Enter the Matrix, the entire game focuses on Niobe and Ghost. The storyline was actually very interesting. It was very intriguing to see how they fit into the Resistance and the powers that they could muster without actually being divine. You wouldn't really be taking all of their powers because the Resistance people have still freed their mind. They can still do interesting combat, interesting shooting, interesting tactics, as we saw with Trinity and Morpheus, but it doesn't really kind of hinge on that divine power that Neo has. And I think if they try to create another Neo, it's going to feel stale. It's just going to feel too much like a reboot. So if we go kind of a Rogue One direction and we focus on major players in the Resistance but not all powerful, it should be much more interesting. My second suggestion is to use fan theories. So there's a lot of fan theories going around for the Matrix, but the biggest one that I like, that I think could really be used, is Zion is another layer of the Matrix. And the reason I like this so much is they never really explain how Neo is able to stop a Sentinel in the real world of Zion. He kind of just turns around, puts his hand up, kills the Sentinel, then he kind of passes out. But it's never really explained how he has this power, unless either A, he truly is divine, or B, it's another layer of the Matrix. So it would be interesting if we actually used another Matrix movie to explore this. Maybe the Resistance can figure out that they're still trapped in the Matrix, and this is kind of a safeguard where the people who free their mind from the first layer are kind of caught in the safety net of this Zion layer. That could be a very intriguing plot to explore. It would explain how Neo was able to stop them. And again, it follows the system of Rogue One, where Rogue One addressed a plot hole in the original Star Wars trilogy. We were always asking, why was it so easy to destroy the Death Star? Why was there a vulnerability like that? And Rogue One goes back and addresses that. So I would like to see the Matrix do the same principle. My third suggestion is that the plot should occur either before Neo and before the current Matrix, or after Neo destroys the Matrix, essentially. That would create more of that world building, more of us learning about the universe, whereas if we do a plot that takes place at the same time as Neo, then we already know the world. We've already been shown everything. We know who the main issue is. We know all the major players. So it would just feel a lot more wondrous if we explore a past version of the Matrix or the future of the Matrix. One of the suggestions I have for the plot taking place before Neo is Agent Smith references past iterations of the Matrix. We also get a lot of information about this from the Architect. I think that we could really use a past Matrix, especially with the one that Smith references with the perfect world, where they tried to make the world perfect, where everyone would be so happy. There's a lot of philosophy that could be explored here, and The Matrix has always been a very philosophical movie. They could relate this directly to Greek mythology in the Greek Golden Age, where people were happy, but in reality they were completely ignorant and completely subjected to the will of Kronos the Titan. We could draw a lot of parallels to that. There could be an agent who represents Kronos. We could explore the Resistance destroying a world that is arguably perfect for the people submitted to the Matrix. What is the moral, ethical view of that? Should we actually destroy that? Is it totally terrible to be ignorant and be subjects? Or is freedom the most important part of life? These are some big questions that could be explored if they decided to go that route. And the final suggestion for a possible plot that I have is perhaps breaking the cycle of the one and destruction of the Matrix. So if we assume that Zion is a layer of the Matrix, we assume that the Matrix world is still a little bit intact. The architect says that everything is a cycle. The one exists to basically reset the Matrix. So if we do decide to make the movie take place after Neo rather than before Neo, how can this cycle be broken? How can the Resistance stop the one from resetting the Matrix, stop the Matrix from taking hold? This would be more plot-driven. I don't see if there could be as much philosophy this direction, but I'm sure it could be written in. So it's something interesting to think about. So what do you guys think? Do you think it would be wiser to have a movie take place before Neo? Would it be better to take place after Neo? Or do you disagree with me and you want to see people running around during the one's impact? So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this movie could possibly be good? I personally think the Wachowskis really need to be involved. I don't see how Keanu could come back without being weird, considering he definitely died. But at the very least, I really want the Wachowskis to return. So let me know what you guys think and consider subscribing.